Hello and welcome to Data Planet. I'm Emma Davis, and today's guest is Kate Minnema, go-to-market strategist and AI adoption consultant at Magenta GTM Solutions. Welcome to the show, Kate.
Hi, Emma. Thanks for having me.
All right, so talk to me about go-to-market and AI adoption. How do those two interests intersect? Why are those your two areas of focus?
Yeah. Well, I've spent nearly 20 years in go to market at Zappos, Walmart, Snap. But in 2019, I started working for Fit Analytics with an AI SaaS solution. And when I saw the speed at which AI was being adopted by go to market teams, I saw some real alarming things happening. Um, AI doesn't change what good go to market looks like, but it does speed up the execution of it. So the strategy has to be right. AI just removes bottlenecks between strategy and output. So bad go to market can also be sped up. So that's where I started really focusing in on ethical AI adoption.
Okay, and what is ethical AI adoption? Like, what are some of the ethical considerations you bring to the AI adoption conversation?
Yeah. Um, Ethical AI adoption is not a values statement, it's a business ethics framework. Um, and I believe that brands that skip it get burned. So there's really three layers to it. It's transparency. Who knows what? Externally, do customers know that they're interacting with AI generated content or AI driven decisions? Internally, does leadership know how AI is being leveraged by the teams for output? Most companies have neither of those conversations going on currently. And then there's fairness in the data and the output. So, content generation can perpetuate narrow representations of who a brand is for. So, someone needs to be looking at that output critically, not just measuring the click through. And then lastly, there's accountability. Who owns the decision? When an AI tool recommends a pricing strategy or a content angle or a customer segment to deprioritize, who is accountable? Ethical adoption means a human is always a named decision maker. The AI informs, it does not decide.
So, how does that begin with a new client? Because when I think of like ethical AI adoption, I don't necessarily think about a framework or a punch list of like legal coverage or like I think about warm and fuzzy. I think there's a lot of concerns around ethics, but maybe it crosses over into morals, and I'm not really a scholar on the difference. But around like water usage or people losing jobs and like things that feel like uh more of a battle of soul or good versus evil or something. So like when you're thinking about ethical considerations for AI or when you're starting that conversation with a company, do they already have some sense of the ethical concerns that they're looking to address? Does it ever go beyond those 3 points that you outlined? Like, what does that conversation sound like?
Yes, it can definitely go deeper than that. I think there's also, a really strong data dimension here. Anytime someone pastes customer data into an AI tool, data is leaving a controlled environment.
Mhm.
So a CSM pasting an at risk customer list into Claude to draft re engagement emails, that customer data has now been submitted to a third party outside of the company's control. So, depending on contracts, that could be a breach, but also, does that customer know that their data is being shared outside of who they've agreed to share it with?
Mhm.
So that's a big component that I talk about with clients. Um, and that also feeds into what the data is modeled on. So AI is modeling data that could also be creating additional liabilities. So marketing teams might be generating content at volume with no IP review. Um, and then what the model learns from the users could also have bias put into it when
Mhm.
things are, again, being loaded into these third party models. So, there's a lot of different ethic considerations that can come up, specifically with the data. Um, but then there's also proprietary strategy docs and competitive intelligence that teams are feeding in that companies just don't want that shared as well. Um, so terms of services is not optional for these companies. They need to really be looking at these things with a business decision and sound legal guidance.
Mm. Okay, awesome. And so when a new customer comes to you, do they have like, hey, we're trying to figure out this thing, or this just feels like generally a gap to us. Could you help us figure this out? Like, how does that start?
Yeah, I mean, I never diagnose before I, um, really do a full audit of what's going on. So my first questions are always, what are you doing slowly? Or what decisions are happening slowly that you wish you could make faster? That
Mm,
might tell me where AI could actually be used and adopted by the team. But then I audit the room, what's already in place, CRM automations, content platforms, analytic dashboards. There's a lot of AI tools these companies already have that are underutilized currently. So I want
mm,
to really inventory what's already there before adding anything new in. And then I map the team's comfort level with AI as well. Um, are they comfortable with how the AI is being used? Are they comfortable with QAing the output? Are they comfortable with the liability that the AI could be leaving open? So I'm really looking for that zone where the tool is a multiplier for the team, not a crutch, but
mm.
also where the company is really confident in the outputs being sound and not creating additional liability.
Got it. Okay. And to me, it feels like, and maybe this is just, it says more about the nature of social media algorithms than it does about the reality of AI. But it feels like everything I see posted on LinkedIn, for example, about AI is very absolute. It's very, if you're not using X tool, you're missing the boat and you're a dummy. Or like if you're still doing Y without AI, you're living in the stone ages and you're already so far behind you'll never catch up. Like it's very um doom and gloom. Now that I'm saying that, that is 100% social media algorithm. But um, do you have any tools or processes that are your ride or die? Like any strong opinions like the ones I see in my LinkedIn feed?
Yeah, I mean, I I really go by some rules of thumb here before being specific with tools, just because the space is moving much too quickly to say these are my tools that I'm going to stick with forever. Um, but I think the most important rule that I look at is the 70-30 rule. If the AI can get something achieved in 70% of it achieved in a fraction of the time, the human's job is the remaining 30%, the judgment, the tone, the context, the quality control. So if your team is spending more than 30% fixing an AI output, I
Mm,
would say that's probably not the right AI solution for the team. So that's a really key rule that I look at. Um, and then also, never adopt an AI solution that the team doesn't really understand fully. So, automating a broken workflow is
mhm.
just going to make that broken thing faster.
Yeah.
So, before any AI process is included, that process really needs to be clearly understood by the team and validated by a human. And then um, I also really like to look at AI solutions that have terms of services that meet the company's legal and liability guardrails and in their responsibility to their customers. So making sure that the AI solutions fit their needs. So it's not a black and white list of AI solutions across every company. It
Mm,
it really is more nuanced than that with the immense amount of AI solutions coming up daily. I'm constantly being advertised some new AI solution that's out there.
yeah.
So it's really a nuanced answer to that.
Yeah. And so how are you keeping up with that? Like I just for context, I just had a conversation with someone who said they're in marketing for a company and they said that they basically their content development strategy had kind of been on hold. Not their content development, but like their positioning had been on hold. They're a software company and they were like, things are just changing so quickly that we don't want to spend, a month putting a message together and getting it out there that like 2 days later that's going to be irrelevant. Oh, turns out now this has changed, or this, this is not really that big a competitive advantage anymore. Like things are just advancing so quickly. You alluded to that with, you know, not being not being sold necessarily on like this is the best tool, as opposed to like this is the best, here are some good rules of thumb so that no matter what you're doing, you're operating safely or productively. Um, so for you, how are you keeping up with that, or how are you helping companies keep up with that so that they can make forward movement, they can make progress without this fear of, well, by the time that's done, is that already going to be outdated?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that a tool is going to be outdated and replaced just because another solution comes out that has one or two additional features. I've worked in SaaS for many years, and there's always new competitors coming out with a new feature. If that feature is really not the key driver and it's really just a selling point for their sales team, I
Mhm.
don't think that's something that needs to get everybody in a tizzy. I think we
Mhm.
can continue to move forward with the tool that we feel really confident in for that team, and it meets the team's needs. But I do feel like AI adoption work needs to be reviewed annually. I would
Mhm.
say annually is probably the right pacing for mid-size to enterprise level companies.
Mhm.
Startups, maybe that's every 6 months, but I think looking at things on an annual basis, what are we really adopting? How have the ROI from these solutions, paid out? Are there things that are still broken or not being addressed with these AI solutions? Is that something that could be fixed if we replaced one of these, or is that something that requires a new AI solution layered on top? All of those types of questions should be something that teams are looking at annually at a minimum.
Yeah. Uh, With all of this, I think there's an underlying AI anxiety of for a lot of different reasons. So how much of your job is, the operational, um, workflow mapping, getting those things in place, figuring out, making sure that companies are compliant versus hand holding or, sort of being emotional support for people trying to, you know, to figure out what the future looks like.
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest worries and anxieties that's coming with AI is it's coming for my job. I think that's what you're alluding to here. Am I coming in to figure out how to replace you with an AI
Yeah.
solution?
Yeah.
That's not what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Um, I still fully believe that AI is only as powerful it is with sound human input and
Mhm.
sound human review of the output.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I like to make really clear on day one is I'm looking at AI as an accelerant for the team,
Mhm.
not something to replace the team.
Mhm.
So this will help the company scale and grow more seamlessly. It will remove stress and bottlenecks for the team to make their day to day working situation smoother and
Mhm.
calmer. I
Mhm.
think everybody would appreciate that. Um, and part of that is also by, I continue to ask one client question over and over again. Um, who is owning this AI solution? Who is owning this step in the AI solution? Um, there is always a human element to my AI solutions and my recommendations. Um, because I think if AI output were to have an issue, there was
Mhm.
an ad that's posted that is AI and it doesn't go well and the brand is at risk now. Who's owning that? If
Mhm.
a human isn't named, you don't have a governance problem. There's an accountability vacuum created by this AI solution. And And that's really what ethical AI is about at the core, is that there's human elements to all of this, and that we're still running the AI solution and not letting it do our job for us. So I think that helps alleviate the anxiety as I work with teams.
Awesome. Kate, let's go ahead and wrap up there. Listeners, if you want to learn more about Kate and Magenta GTM Solutions, details will be in the show notes. Kate, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Emma.